Okay, now it's time to add the particles. So create a new solid. Let's name this particles. Okay, if you don't see the effects panel here, switch to the default workspace. Okay, there it goes. And apply CC particle world effect to this particles layer. There you go. So we now have some particles in the scene. So now we need to align the particles with the shield, which means we need to use the shield position null as an emitter. For that, we can use an expression. So I wrote this expression a few months back. The expression will be in the description. Just copy the X position expression, hit Ctrl C, go to the CC particle world effect, and under the producer, I'll click the position X and hit Ctrl V to paste this expression there. It will give you an error, don't worry about it at the moment. So copy the Y position expression, I'll click the position Y and paste it, Ctrl V. Do the same thing for the position G, Ctrl C to copy, I'll click the position G and hit Ctrl V to paste it. Okay, alright, now to fix the error. Add a layer control effect before the CC particle world effect and select the shield position null layer. And there you go, the error's gone. And the particles are now getting emitted from the shield null. Cool. Well, if you want to understand how this expression works, I will try my level best to explain it down in the description. However, it's up to you. If you don't want to learn it, okay, that's no problem. You can simply copy paste the expression whenever you want to use a null object as an emitter for the CC particle world. There's nothing wrong in it. It works every time, so not a problem. Okay, coming back to this effect, go to the physics properties and make the velocity 0. Alright. Now let's increase the emitter size, increase the radius x to something like this, and also increase the y radius to something like this. Okay, that's looking good. Make the x 0.1052. Okay, that's looking good. And we can make the z radius 0. There you go. And also decrease the particle count by decreasing the birth rate, maybe 0.2. Check this out. Okay, we now have particles originating right from frame 1, which we don't want. So go to the frame where the shield originates, like where the shield opacity animation starts. Add a keyframe to the birth rate. Okay, make it 0. Move forward a frame where the shield opacity becomes 100 and make the birth rate 0.2. There you go. So this starts the particles right where the shield animation starts. Okay, that's looking good. And also turn off the particles when the shield disappears. So add a keyframe, go to the next frame and make it 0. Check this out. Okay, we now have the particles originating when the shield appears and stops when the shield disappears. Okay, that's looking good. During the initial keyframes, we can see that the particle emitter size is a bit too big compared to the shield. To fix that, we can actually animate the radius of the emitter. But before that, select the shield position, hit U to access the keyframes. Go to the keyframe where the rotation of the shield starts, which is this keyframe right here. Select the particles layer, go to the CC particle world and decrease the radius Y to something like this. Set a keyframe. And also decrease the radius X so that it stays within the shield. Set a keyframe. Move to the frame where the rotation of the shield stops and give it back its original values. So make the X 0.105 and make the Y 0.105. There you go. Okay, the emitter size issue is fixed now. Now let's increase the inherent velocity and check this out. There you go. So now the arm movement is affecting the particles, which is pretty cool. Also, I feel like the particles are too many. We can actually decrease them. Go to the keyframe where the particles originate. Decrease the birth rate to 0.1. And also go to the last keyframe and make the birth rate 0.1. Okay, that's looking good. And also, if you feel like the particle count is less during this impact point, if you want to increase the particles just for that moment, we can actually animate the birth rate. So go to a frame before, set a keyframe at 0.1, move forward a frame and make the birth rate 1. Move forward a few frames, set a keyframe and go to the next frame and make the birth rate 0.1 like before. Okay, I feel like the particles are too many, so make this keyframe 0.5 and also here 0.5. So this increases the particle count only for a few frames. There you go. And also, if we want to, we can actually offset these keyframes to control the position where the particles increase. There you go, something like that. I'm just showing you all the possibilities, so it's up to you. It all comes down to personal preference. Okay, now let's go to the particle options and change the particle color to white and change the depth color to white too. Or maybe make the depth color black. This gives some nice variation in the color. There you go. Okay, let me isolate this to show you better. There you go, these are our particles. Maybe I feel like the gravity is a bit too much. We can decrease it to 0.3. Let's check this out. Okay, that's looking good. And also maybe decrease the inherent velocity to 50%. Okay, that's looking good. Okay, now let me isolate this. Okay, if you want the particles to actually blend well with the shield, you can go to the opacity map inside the particle world and draw the map like this. Okay, so this decreases the opacity of the particles during their initial lifespan. And this is without the opacity map tweak, and this is with. We can clearly see the difference. The particles are blending a lot better with the shield now. Now apply solid composite effect. Make the color black. So this gets rid of the alpha channel. Add a glow effect. Increase the glow radius to 1 and decrease the threshold to 0. Okay, and decrease the intensity to maybe 0.1. This is without and this is with. Okay, that's looking good. Now let's add a VC color vibrance effect and change the color to orange and decrease the vibrance to control the saturation. And change the blending mode to screen. And there you go. Okay, that's looking good. And if you feel like these lines are too big, like if you want to decrease their size, there is a way to do it. Let me show you that real quick. So let's turn off all these effects, go to the CC particle world and change the particle type to a shaded sphere. Decrease the bud size to very less, like 0.1. Decrease the depth size to 0.12. Okay, very small particles, maybe decrease them even more, 0.05. Depth size to 0.05. Okay. Now let's add a tint effect and make the black white. So this increases the color of the particles. Now let's enable all these effects. Okay. And also we need to increase the birth rate. Go to the first keyframe, make the birth rate 0.5. Or maybe you go with the value of 1. Next keyframe, go with 1. Whenever you change the particle type to anything other than the line option, you need to increase the particle count. I don't know why CC particle world works like that, but you need to do this. Okay, we're done with the particle count. The particles are still looking big to me. Okay, go to the particle options and make the size variation 0. They're still looking big. So decrease the bud size to maybe 0.04 and also decrease the depth size to 0.04 or maybe 0.03. Depth size to 0.03. Okay, alright. Now add a CC force motion blur effect after the tint effect, and this gives a nice motion blur to the sparks. Increase the shutter angle to increase the motion blur. There you go. Let me isolate this. There you go. Okay, the particles are not that visible at the moment. To fix this, we can go to the glow effect and increase the glow intensity to 1. There you go. That fixed the issue. Maybe decrease the intensity to 0.5 and check this out. Okay, just like before, we can actually increase the particle count right when the impact happens. We can tweak a lot. But for this tutorial, I will go with the particle type set to line. But for my original video, I actually used this technique, like changing the particle type to shaded sphere and giving a motion blur. This will have more control, but at the same time requires a lot of tweaking, and also is more demanding from After Effects side because it needs to calculate all the motion blur and everything. So for this tutorial, I'm just going with the line type because that will be easy. So I'm just hitting Ctrl G to undo everything that we have done. So let's do this until we go back to the particle type to line. There you go. Let's enable all these effects. Maybe I think we can increase the gravity back to 0.5 and also increase inherent velocity to 70. So I tweak settings a lot. That's the reason why I usually don't do step-by-step tutorials, because a lot of time I will be going back and forth, but that is necessary. Okay, for this tutorial I'm leaving it at that. Okay, now let's animate the shield being dispersed into particles. For that, import the shield reference image which we used initially to create the shield. Hit Ctrl Shift C to pre-compose it, leave all attributes. Okay. Enable 3D. Hold Alt and Shift and pick whip the shield position null to snap it into position. There you go, it's aligned with the shield. Now, let's head into this pre-composition. Select the shield layer and hit S to access the scale. Decrease the scale. And position it a bit to the top, like this. Okay, now let's select the pan behind tool. Okay, and not right here. Go to the composition. Select the pre-comp. And using the pan behind tool, move the anchor point to the center of the shield, like this. Now hold Alt and Shift and snap it one more time to the shield null. Okay, this snaps the position. Scale it as needed. Hit S and scale it to match the position. Okay, once that's done, go to the frame where the particles stop emitting, which is this frame right here. Add a CC particle systems 2 effect this time. A position emitter up to match the shield position. Okay, something like this. And also increase the radius X and radius Y to cover the shield. Something like this. Now go to the physics option, decrease the velocity to 0 just like before. Alright, and go to the particle options and check the source alpha inheritance option. Now increase the birth rate to actually see the particles. Okay, let me decrease the gravity to 0 to actually show you what's happening. There you go. Because of the source alpha inheritance, the particles are getting emitted only from the shield shape, which is really cool. So let's switch back the gravity to 1. Set a keyframe for the particle birth rate. Okay, alright. Okay, let me use the particle volt keyframes as reference. Maybe we can move this keyframe forward. Okay, move back a frame and set the birth rate to 0. Okay, so this is where the particles originate. Maybe let's move both these keyframes one frame backward. Move forward a few frames and set the birth rate to 0. So the particles appear and then they stop. Also, we can see that the particles are moving with the hand. So unlike the particles with the shield null, we don't want them to move with the hand. We want them to stay fixed. Okay, let's see both of these together. Okay, that's looking good. Now let me match the look of both these particles. So select the particle systems 2 layer. Change the particle color to white. Let's make the depth color white too. Alright. Okay, now let me copy all these effects from the particle wall layer and paste it here. There you go. Change the transform mode to screen. And if you see any color artifacts, you can make the pressure luminance to 0 and that will fix those issues. There you go. Okay, that's looking good, but it's too bright, so decrease the brightness to maybe 0.5. Yeah, that's looking good. Okay, let's see this at a final composite level. Okay, alright, that's looking okay. Okay, this still needs some improvement and some timing adjustments, but for the sake of this tutorial, I'm actually leaving it at this. Let me turn off the background to appreciate the shield and the particle effects. There you go. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Maybe we can decrease the particle count. See, it needs a lot of tweaking. Okay, now to add some lighting effects onto the actor right here, we can actually create a new solid. Give this an orange or yellow color. Maybe we can pick this color. There you go. Okay. Position it above the background layer. And let's draw a mask covering this part of the actor. There you go. Something like this. And now let's draw a circular mask right where the shield is. Like this. And scale it up. Okay. Now select the mask and set the blend mode to intersect. There you go. Now hit MF to access the feather options and increase the feather of this mask layer. So this gives a fake fall off for the shield lighting, brighter at the center and becomes dim as we move away from the center. So set the transfer mode to screen. And because this is a pre-keyed footage, we can actually add a set matte effect and select the footage like the background plate BZ. There you go. Also, let's hit M and F and feather out this mask. Hit T and decrease the opacity. There you go, that's looking okay. Maybe change the color of this solid to an orange color. Something like this. Okay, that's looking good. And also based on the shield layer, we need to animate its opacity. So there you go, opacity 25. And next frame, opacity to 0. Do the same thing when the shield starts. So this is the frame where the shield starts. The lighting here doesn't make any sense. So go to the frame where the shield is coming to that position, somewhere right here. Set a keyframe for the opacity, make it 0. Move forward few frames and make the opacity 25. There you go. So that animates the lighting effect based on the shield effect. And this helps to composite the shield a little bit better onto the background plate. And to improve this even further, we can actually go to the frames where the shield starts to glitch. Like select all the shield layers and hit U to access the keyframes. Like these are the keyframes where the shield starts glitching. And we can go frame by frame and animate the opacity based on the visibility of the shield. Like on this frame, some part of the shield is not visible, so we can decrease the opacity to maybe 10. Alright. Go to the next frame. Okay, same shield, so set a keyframe. Move forward a few frames, and on this frame we can see that most of the shield is not visible, so let's decrease the opacity to maybe 5. There you go. So this way we can actually animate the opacity for all these frames. And when we are done, it will look something like this. There you go. The lighting is also responding to the shield animation, which is pretty cool. So this adds a little bit more to the composite. So for this other hand, we need to follow the same steps. We first need to track this hand, and once the track is done, we need to duplicate all these shield layers to actually create a second shield, and then we need to apply that second shield to this hand right here using the track data. And also we can animate the shield if required and add the particles and do all sort of stuff. So it's basically the same technique that we have used until now, so I want you guys to do it. Also, I just want to address the glow error which you might be facing. So on my monitor, I don't see it at the moment, but if I bump up my exposure, there you go, I can actually see it. So in order to fix this error, we need to pre-compose all the shield layers, including the shield position null and the null one, because those are all linked together. Hit Ctrl Shift C to pre-compose, and let's name this right shield. Okay, so we're getting an error. That's probably because of the particle world layer not having any null at the moment, like it's nothing. In order to fix this, we can actually go into this pre-comp and copy these two null objects and paste it in the main comp. There you go. And now select the particles and select the shield position null. Okay, that fixes the error. Now in order to fix our glow error, select the right shield and we can actually add a levels effect. Alright, so decrease the black point just a bit, so maybe like this. Okay, that's looking good. And also increase the gamma. Okay, that's looking good. So let's clip output black and clip output white. I already told you about this before. So hit this to 0. Okay, and set the transfer mode to screen. There you go. So we don't see any glow cutoff right now. Alright. But if you lose any glow when doing this, we can actually add that on top. So add a glow effect. So decrease the glow threshold to something like this. Alright. Increase the glow radius to 100. And decrease the glow intensity to maybe like 0.1. Very subtle. There you go. And if you feel like it's too much saturated, you can actually decrease the saturation. Add a hue and saturation effect and decrease the saturation. So like I said, it's all personal preference. So with this, we're done. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe for more tutorials.